To introduce our second Game Changer West honoree, please welcome a past honoree himself, the co-founder of Stop AAPI Hate, Russell Jeung.
Thank you, Margaret, and congratulations on this year's Game Changers Gala. I'm Professor Russell Jeung. I co-founded Stop AAPI Hate, and I was named a Game Changer last year, and I'm glad to be back. Unfortunately, I'm saying this period right now, the Asian American community is experiencing a period of collective racial trauma. 1 out of 5 of us have experienced racism, direct hate, during the last year. That's 5 million cases of anti-Asian violence. And this anti-Asian hate is actually traumatizing. There's already been over 50 studies conducted demonstrating the significant correlation between the racism we're experiencing and our community's psychological distress. Now, in the face of racial trauma, in the face of threat, people go into fight or flight response. So you can understand how Asians are fighting back. They're arming themselves at really high numbers with guns. The flight response is that we're telling our elders to isolate. I don't know any Asian family that hasn't told their family elders to stay inside. But there's another response to the threat of racism, another response to trauma that's adaptive. It's a resilient, and it's actually a healing response. Rather than fight or flight, the Asian American community is flocking. So think about that. We're flocking here tonight. We've been flocking across the country to fight against racism and to gain support. And whenever I talk about the flocking response of Asian Americans as an exemplar, I always talk about AAPI Youth Rising, the awardees for tonight. They are game changers in how they flock. It's not because they're cute and young that they're getting awarded, but they are cute and young as you'll see them. But it's because these young people, these students are actually offering us a concrete, nonviolent way of making social change. AAPI Youth Rising flocked for protection. They didn't flock just for themselves, but when they saw their grandmothers being attacked, when they saw their younger siblings being bullied, they came together and flocked and organized. AAPI Youth Rising then flocked for support. They organized an intergenerational, multiracial rally in Berkeley and gathered over 1,200 people to come together. That's how you build allies. That's how you gain voice. Next, AAPI Youth Rising flocked for power. Asian American young people now, when we survey them, they say their greatest response to the racism is one of disappointment. Asian American young people are just shocked at the way people are getting mistreated, how callously, how virulently, and they're actually disappointed in other Americans. They're disappointed in our system. But AAPI Youth Rising students, unlike adults who become cynical, who may become apathetic, they still have hope. And so they're flocking together to make change, and now they have over 50 chapters across the nation. And finally, AAPI Youth Rising is flocking to show us the way. You know how geese come into the V formation? They fly in the V to sustain themselves? In the same way, AAPI Youth Rising is flocking and working and lobbying that ethnic studies could be taught at the 4th to 8th grade level. They're flocking for power, they're flocking for change. So if you can, direct yourself to the videos. We're gonna show you another, more information about the organization, and then we'll present them with the award. So please join me in flocking with AAPI Youth Rising. We have Mina Fedor, Charlie Trenkel, Jasleen Lai, Anna Hill, Cooper Hong, and Maxwell Wong on the board, as well as Grace Chu, Kobe Thomas, and Mibi Tudin.
Wow, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Dr. Jeung is a true AAPI hero. You're in our history lesson, by the way. So, yeah, thank you so much. And that video is really, really surreal to see how much and how far we've come over the past few years of AAPI Youth Rising. But yeah, what an incredible night, and it's such an honor to be named alongside Dr. Ma and Mr. Lee. I have a physicist and a multimillionaire to compete with, so that's great. But anyways, yeah, it's especially meaningful because Miss Conley and Mr. Rudd and the entire Asia Society family has been by our side since day one, and for that we are eternally grateful. And thank you, Asia Society, for continuing to believe in us. We started AAPI Youth Rising by taking just one small action, and that was all the way back in 2021. At the time, we were just a group of middle schoolers on the mission and had no idea how far this group would come. And now I'm proud to share that we have nearly 70 chapter leaders across 15 different states. And my youth board is here with me tonight, and they can tell you firsthand that we have learned together, we have grown together, and we have acted together. And this award reminds us that small actions really do make a difference and that we can all work together. So. Let's be honest, though, at the end of the day, we're still just a bunch of kids, and although we're receiving this award tonight, kids around the world are doing exactly the same thing that we are doing. We are still trying to figure out who we are, we're navigating the complicated process of growing up, and we're trying to understand our place in this world. And some of us don't even know how to drive yet, and maybe that's a good thing. And as kids, we are all finding our voices, and we are all learning how to be game changers. For me, being a game changer is all about embracing the power of this uncertainty. It's about the power of change, and it's believing in youth voices, and it's believing that we can all make a difference. I remember when Asia Society CEO, Mr. Rudd, asked me to join Asian Americans Building America series, and that was just days after the AAPI Youth Rising rally back in 2021. I wondered what I could possibly say to the CEO of Asia Society, and by the way, what do you call the ex-prime minister of our world power anyways? Ms. Conley told me that I didn't have to call him Your Honor, Your Excellency, or Mr. Ex-Prime Minister, so thank you for clarifying that. During the interview, Mr. Rudd asked me about my hopes for AAPI Youth Rising, and I talked about how we plan to tackle huge societal issues head on. Issues like youth mental health, inclusive education, and getting the AAPI vote out. We were going to try to solve it all. He paused and asked me what exactly my plans were and just how we would end up tackling all of that. My response, we were going to take it small, one student, one action, and one day at a time. And that's the same message that was at the heart of my AAPI Youth Rising rally speech, and one that still drives the core of our mission today. Small actions matter in driving positive change, and the seemingly insurmountable no longer seems so daunting when we act collectively. And no one knows that better than kids. So how can we all become game changers? Well, first, we believe that education is the key to pretty much everything. We as youth need to know our histories and where we come from so that we can write our own futures. And I've said this before, but it's worth repeating again and again. When we turn the pages of our history books, when we watch movies, when we scan a room to see who is speaking, we may not say it in the moment, but we're constantly searching for faces that look like ours, stories that echo ours, to validate us, to inspire us, and to make us feel like a greater part of the American story. And that's why our first action after the rally was to launch the 1x180 pledge to raise awareness to the fact that despite being the fastest growing racial group in America, few moments in Asian American history are actually taught in our classrooms. We joined student coalitions in support of ethnic studies and AAPI history mandates, and although legislation is critical, it takes time. And we wondered how we could make a difference right now. We knew that we could teach these untold histories ourselves, so we developed our one day of AAPI history lesson that volunteers to teach to classrooms across America. Jasleen, our IT director, shared our lesson at a teachers conference last month. Grace just taught at her elementary school, and Kobe, who runs social media, recently taught fourth graders in San Francisco, who were so bright that they ultimately ended up teaching us. Another big part of our work is all about elevating youth voices every single day. Anna, our editor-in-chief, curates our creative corner where we celebrate youth art and writing. Cooper, our finance director, and Max on special projects both spoke out at Asian Society's conference for teachers last year. Mimi tabled a youth art fair in Oakland this past weekend. So finally, our hope for safer and healthier communities means that we are increasingly paying attention to larger societal issues that impact all of us. Issues like gun violence, reproductive justice, and community health. Jasleen, Ethan, and I spoke with the White House AANHPI subcommittee last month about youth mental health, a topic that we all know is front and center in our communities. And last but not least, Charlie helps us organize all of our dreams at AAPI Youth Rising, and she keeps me together for sure. And tonight, I really feel so fortunate, and I'm constantly inspired by all the kids who have been a part of the AAPI Youth Rising journey and our growing number of chapter leaders. And my team, who are also here besides me tonight. They act out and act up in a good way. But more importantly, they fill me with hope. Hope because people are finally listening to the voices of AAPI youth. AAPI Youth Rising believes in dreaming big and taking it one day at a time. And we hope that by reaching one kid, one classroom, and one lesson at a time, we are making a difference in realizing a future that's brighter for all of us. But being a game changer is also all about embracing change and dreaming big at the same time, also taking it small. And tonight, I am in a room full of people who I know have already made a big impact. But we can all do more, right? So I'm closing AAPI Youth Rising with the same call to action that I've been putting out there since the very beginning. Tonight, I challenge you all to take one small action. Talk to your kids about the many events in Asian American history that are not told in our classrooms. Learn more about US's relations with Asia. Read a book about an experience that is entirely unlike yours. Believe in a kid who decides to take on the seemingly insurmountable. We as youth look up to you. We as youth are counting on you. And we as youth ask you to keep dreaming with us so that we can all be game changers. Thank you.
We have a lot of AAPI representatives in the room. Kimberly Chang from the Asian Health Services, representatives from Volunteers in Asia, Justice for Vicha, AAPI Women Lead, and the Asian American Foundation, and many more.